Another day, another vlog, and here I am today with this, not a novel, a play by Arthur Miller, Death of a Salesman. It was published in 1949, and I guess if it was written in 2022 in North America, it would probably be titled Death of a Salesperson. In any case, this was my first time finishing a whole play. I usually don't read plays. I read usually nonfiction or a novel, but here this was a play, so it was a bit of getting used to. I understand, or I've been told, that people read this in high schools in Canada. The high school I went to a public high school in Toronto. There was mostly Shakespeare. That's what I remember reading. I wish they had read something like this by Arthur Miller, 20th century English that it's written in, I can understand. Shakespeare English, difficult to digest, especially for a 15-year-old or 16-year-old whose second language is English. So I really enjoyed reading this. I wish they read it in my high school, but it is what it is. I'm reading it here much later, over a dozen years after graduating from high school, and I took away a lot. It's a very slim play, less than 120 pages, at least in this Penguin Classics edition. Arthur Miller was about 32, I believe, when he wrote this play. I watched an interview of him actually not too long ago after I finished the play, just to see who he is. And this interview was recorded in 1999. The novel was actually produced in the Broadway in the U.S. In middle of 20th century, but late 1990s, Arthur Miller helped this play being produced in China, and the interpretation there is very different. So in the interview, Arthur Miller talks about how this is a play about love. When I read it, and again, I sort of am part of the North American Western tradition of education. When I read it, to me, it was about the American dream, the capitalist modern system that is common here currently in Canada, United States, some other countries in Europe and around the world. But 1990s, the interview by Arthur Miller, he says it's about love. And I said, interesting. So I don't want to go through the whole timeline of what happened and who are the main characters, but just so you guys have some context. The main guy is Willie. He's the salesman. He's about 63 years old. And that's where the play begins. And the play ends in 24 hours. So the whole thing here, the whole story about that guy is just sort of snapshot into his life, a very slim shot into his life of 24 hours. Willie's wondering, where did his life go wrong? Professionally, personally, he has two sons. They're both grown-ups. And according to Willie's standards, they have not succeeded, or they're nobodies. So that's what Willie's doing, lamenting about his life, what happened. His wife, Linda, is part of the conversations. There's also a lot of past conversations that Willie's having with himself that are also in here. So there's reflection, introspection onto the past, present, and the future. So I guess the love part for Arthur Miller, when he was producing this in China, was the obligations of father to his sons who aren't doing as well. What can he do as a man who's becoming senile? What legacy will he leave? So that's the interpretation in 1990s. But in early years, 50s or late 40s, it was more about the American dream and how a person can reinvent themselves. And there's an interesting line, actually, I'll read it here. It's towards the end of the novel about, so Charlie is the neighbor, and he's talking to Willie's older son, whose name is Biff. And this is where it goes. This is on page 111 of this edition I have of Penguin Classics. Here it goes. And for a salesman, there is no rock bottom to the life. He's a man way out there in the blue, riding on a smile and a shoe shine. And when they start not smiling back, there's an earthquake. And then you get yourself a couple of spots on your head, and that you're finished. A salesman is got to dream, boy. It comes with the territory. So it's irony all over. It's very well written, and I appreciate it so much. not too long, didn't go on for 300 pages, less than 120 pages in this edition. So that's what I took from this play, that you are in a certain profession, be it a lawyer, be a doctor, be a salesperson or realtor. In Canada, they call salespeople for houses or real estate realtors. Whatever you may be, there comes a time when you start to wonder, how did I get here? I'm getting old and senile, and life did not work out the way I had contemplated it would work out. So that's a recurring theme. So I don't want to spoil too much of what goes on. The show begins, or the play begins, with Willie having issues with his car. The car apparently steers to the one side a bit too much. So all along there's issues about death or tragedies, accidents happening, and that sort of goes up. There's a lot of up and down. So I'm not going to talk about the end, but I'm sure a person could guess what would happen what will happen at the end by looking at the title. So there are other videos that summarize the play, so I'll leave that for another time. But I sort of wondered, what is it like to be a salesperson? And to me, a salesperson is a very loose term. You could be a person advocating for a human being who needs certain remedies or certain things that they're entitled to, but the system they live in doesn't provide for that. So they could have a lawyer that could argue on their behalf to a judge to persuade, to create something new that didn't exist in the past. Salesperson could be selling your cell phone subscriptions, or selling you a cell phone, or selling you life insurance, or be a realtor, as they call them in Canada. So it's a huge spectrum, at least the way I sort of read this play, that it's not just applicable to salesmen of one kind. Rather, there are lots of occupations, or you could be in a different strata of society, and you could still relate to Willie and his struggles and his curiosity and disappointments with life and where it's going and where it all went. And I sort of touched in my second vlog about exploring lives of different people. I talked about very briefly Murray Hannon, the litigator in Canada, Howard Gardner's, that was my second vlog, about his life and how he became to be important figure in educational circles about different theories or different sort of intelligences. So this, to me, was not just about a man, a person. To me, this play was about occupation or a way of life that is very common, not just to salespeople, but to other professions. If there is something that resonated with you and you think that this play loosely applies to your life or somebody, I would love to read about that in my comments. And I look forward to exploring, maybe not Arthur Miller. There are other books I have in the back burner that sort of talk about lives, how to live a life, an authentic life, and what it is like to be in that particular profession. So anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and we'll have these conversations as time goes on. Thank you.